Bibles to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 29. And we're going to begin to read a letter that was written to the exiles while they were in Babylon. We're going to begin with verse 4. This is when the people of God had been taken captive, and Jeremiah was able to get a letter to them that contained the word of the Lord for them. And if you're there, it's Jeremiah 29, verse 4. Would you lower it 1 or 2? It's a little warm in here. That's a first in a long time. We never agree on the temperature. She just lowered it. Thank you, Sandy. So if we're there with verse 4, it says, "This is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says to all those I carried into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon. Build horses and settle down, plant gardens and eat what they produce. Marry and have sons and daughters. Find wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage, so they too may have sons and daughters. Increase in number there, do not decrease. Also, seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper. Yes, this is what the Lord Almighty, the God of Israel, says. Do not let the prophets and diviners come among you to deceive you. Do not listen to the dreams you encourage them to have. They are prophesying lies to you in my name. I have not sent them, declares the Lord." Verse 10, "This is what the Lord says. When 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will come to you and fulfill my good promise to bring you back to this place, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. You will seek me and you will find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and will bring you back from captivity. I will gather you from all the nations and places where I have banished you, declares the Lord, and I will bring you back to the place from which I carried you into exile." Amen? And we will stop there. You know, many times, I don't know how many times in my Christian walk with the Lord I have heard Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and to not harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." In other words, God's plans for us are good plans. Amen? God's future for us is a good future. You know, there are times when we begin to read this, there are times, and we will not be exempt, okay? When we as children of God are not exempt from things that happen in life. We are not exempt from troubles. We are not exempt from calamity. But God, in the midst of calamity, is with us, because he is a very present help in a time of trouble, okay? And so we cannot say, well, I am in trouble, so therefore God is not with me. But God is with us all the time. And so what this letter begins, and what had been happening, am I loud or no? Okay, it's just up here. What had been happening was that there had been false prophets that had been coming to them, to the people of God that were in captivity, and had been prophesying to them in the previous chapter that it would be over in 2 years. And so now God says, now I'm going to speak. This is what I say. And he said, build houses and settle in them. In other words, this isn't going to blow over easily. You're going to be here a while. And he actually told them 70 years. And he said, so go ahead, increase the number. Go ahead and have kids. Go ahead and build houses. Go ahead and make yourself at home, because you're not getting out of this one very easily. And then he took credit for their captivity. He said, I exiled you. I sent you into Babylon. Yeah. But God is good. He says, the Word of God tells us in the book of Romans that he will hand us over to our own depravity of our mind. The things that we desire, the things that we want, the wrong things, all the wrong things that the world offers and entices us, he'll hand you over to it. Because God will not force anyone to serve him. You have freedom of choice. We have a young teenager here, praise God. I think you're the only visitor. I told everybody to bring a visitor. So you're real special. Only your grandparents listened. No. But what happened is, when we begin to get to that age, and we have all been there, we decide that, but he's a visitor, you're not. But what happens is, we begin to decide that we can make our own choices. And left to our own choices, and left to our own devices, we will pick wrong every time. The Word of God says, I will make your crooked way straight. If we allowed God to begin to form us and shape us, the things that we are taking in a wrong way, he'll begin to correct it if we allow him. But he's not. He doesn't want for you to be forced to worship, to follow him, to read. He wants you to get up and say, God, good morning. I'm so glad you gave me another day. And I willfully come, and I purposely come to you this morning with a humble heart, and just to praise you and to tell you I love you. That's what he wants. That's what he wants. He doesn't want something that is memorized. He doesn't, somebody, James was telling me about somebody that says, hi, God, it's me. And then he gives him his name. It's me again. How are things going in heaven? How's everything up there? That's his way. But it doesn't, but we don't have a mold. God doesn't have a mold. You and I are all individually, and we pray separately and individually to God. Because we all have different things going on, and we all have different emotions. Some of us are at a happy place, at a peaceful place, while others are not. And so we might sound really good one time, and then a month from now, we'll be sounding totally different. God, it's me. Where are you? Oh my God, I don't feel you, But he is good, and he says, and you will pray, and you will cry out to me. He says, and I will hear you, is what he said. But man, I don't know about you, because see, God sent the prophet Jeremiah, and nobody wanted the prophet Jeremiah. I mean, because he never had nothing good to say. Everything he delivered was exactly what God wanted him to say. And it was never something that made the people of God feel good. See, he was sent to a rebellious people. He was sent to a people that were struggling with following and believing God for what he had for them. And so he would tell them, you're going to have to change because, it's just, this is not good. And God is not happy with you. And so God is telling you that you need to change your ways. And they were like, oh, shut up, go over there, get away. It says that they would call him old man, bald man. They would jeer him. And so God would have him go, and God would give Jeremiah instructions that I don't know that we would follow them, because sometimes we're too prideful. But God would go and have him sit right there in the town center, right in the middle of everybody, the hustle and bustle of everybody going about their daily business. And God would have him sit there and do something so ridiculous and begin to prophesy. And they would just go around him. They didn't want to hear him. But he was not called to be popular. Jeremiah was not called to be popular. As a matter of fact, he didn't have a lot of results for everything that he released, and because the word that he gave, he was speaking to a rebellious people, to a people that could not get on the right track. And God kept trying to make their crooked way straight. And then they'd line up again. And then here in a little bit, yeah, but I was having fun over there. Remember that? Remember, did you go? Were you there? When we were having all that fun. Now we're over here and we're in the straight and narrow. They had a tendency to always want to look back. And so here they are. And God is telling them, I exiled you. I did this. I did this. Because we have to realize that everything is in God's power to prevent. We have to understand that. And there are times that, his angels that had charge over me everything they could to protect me. I remember John Mark was here, and it had been, the Kerrville people had come, and I think it was even a Saturday night or a Friday night, and we were going to take him to eat at Segovia. And Linda went with us, and I know Beck and Adriana were there. And when we arrived, James went. I said, hurry up and you get him over there so they don't close the restaurant. Tell them we're coming. And so James was there, and then we pull up, and then Adriana and Becky were behind us. And Adriana says, Pastor, there was a big angel that was latched on to the trunk of your car. It was holding on, and it had this bronze and long hair, and it would just look to both sides and forward. And she said it was beautiful. It was just like right there riding on the back of your car. And I was like, wow. So we went in and we ate, and James was gonna take Jean-Marc to the cabins, and Beck and Adriana headed to Kerrville. And Linda and I got in my car. At that time, it was the Mercedes, the small Mercedes. And just about the time we crossed over the bridge to get on the interstate, my tire signal came on, and it was flat. And by the time we turned back, I immediately took the phone, and I told James, hey, something's going on with the tires. We're going to try to fill it up, air it up, but just stay on the phone. Be by the phone in case something happens. So I remembered that I went to air it up, and I was deflating it instead. What little bit of air it had, I was letting it out. And so I was trying to air it up, and finally we get home. And the next morning we had to, I think, take Jean-Marc to Midland or something. I don't know what it was. We were going somewhere the next day, and we stopped to go get my tire repaired. We were going to drop off my car there, And when they raised it up to look at it, all the inside of the tires, of my tires, all 4 of them, had all the wires exposed, all of them. And I thought, that's what that angel was doing. That's what that angel was doing. And I remember, I thought, we already had disaster on the freeway with a blowout. I'm not going to revisit this again. And when I went to pick up my car and I looked and I saw my tires there, I thought, wow. See, because sometimes we just don't realize that he is always with us. And that we all have been given angels and have been assigned to us to watch over us. There are angels that will watch over you. There are ministering angels that will minister to you. We have warring angels that war on your behalf. Guardian angels that guard for us. I mean, it's like, wow, God is good. He's good. Even when we didn't know. There are times that people say, man, I should be dead. I should be dead. 3 times I should be dead. But God, amen? But mercy said no. And so here God is telling his people, I have exiled. I sent you into captivity. You were free with me, but you want it over here. And so I've sent you to know what it is. Because the things that easily entangle us, the things that call us, the things that it says that they're pleasing to the eye, the things that draw us astray from God are the things that then they will put us into a captivity. And then we're captive, and about the time that we think, I've had enough, I'm not having fun anymore, you can't get out. You've been taken captive, and God said, so I'm going to hand you over. I'm going to go ahead and let you go the way that you've been resisting me long enough. And so now I'm going to go ahead and release you, but I will be with you. I will watch over you. And that's what he's telling them. And what they wanted to hear was that God was saying, I'm bringing you out. I'm bringing you out right now. Like when Moses was sent to the Israelites and said, tonight you're going to go ahead and be with your shoes on and girded with your belt and everybody, and then we're going to head out of Israel. We're getting out of Egypt because we're walking towards a promised land. And see, he knew that was getting ready to happen. But what was happening to them now was that the false prophets were telling them, it's going to last 2 years. You're going to be here 2 years only. And see, I don't know that wouldn't have sounded really good to us, because when we're going through a hard time, we want it to be over really fast. We just wanted to let up. We haven't really had a change of heart. We're not having fun no more. And so what God said, after it's been 70 years, because he said, because you've caused them to have these dreams. There are dreams that we have that we cause them because we want something so bad. And then we interpret it to be, this is what God said. But he said, you've caused them to dream. And they're not my dreams. I didn't give them the dreams. And now they're telling you that I said when I have not said. And so God is now speaking to them very directly and saying, this is what I did. And it's going to be 70 years. So go ahead and settle down, build a house, have children, marry your daughters. But you will know that I'm bringing you out. I don't know how many times we've had opportunities to minister to people, and after listening to them a while, we realize, well, you didn't get here overnight. You didn't get here overnight. There are times that I have found myself and I've said, this isn't just a week ago. This is something that I knew was coming. I talked to someone yesterday and said, I've been listening to reading some Joyce Meyer books and some sermons, and I went to church, and you know, there were a couple of people that have been feeling led to be praying for me, and they come up to me and told me they had been praying for me and stuff like that, and I said, you know, here's the thing, and this really resonated with James because of sports, and I'm hoping that it'll resonate with the men who understand sports or people that understand sports, because, see, we're either on the offense or we're on the defense. Because sometimes when we're on the defense, it means that you wait until something and all hell breaks loose, and then you want to pray, and you want to pray, and you want to put on those songs, and you want to find a preacher, and you want to call every... That's the defense. But the offense is to stay prayed up. Is to always stay meditating on the Lord. Is to make time for Him, even when you're not having fun. Because what He told them, let me tell you something. What He was trying to tell them is, go ahead and start living your life, because I'm not coming to get you out in 2 years. I've told my son, you didn't get here overnight. You didn't get there overnight, son, where you're at. You're not going to get out overnight. Because God already knows us. He knows our heart. He knows our thoughts. We just want this to be over. God, if you'll just get me out of this one. Did anyone ever pray like that? If you'll just get me out of this. If you'll just make this go away. God, if you'll just be right here this time for me, I promise. Because right now all of my brothers and sisters, should every one of us be in church. Because when my mom was having major surgery and we were in that hospital waiting area and we went into the chapel and we made a circle, and each and every one of the siblings said, God, if you bring our mother through this, I promise you. But we're not all here. Because God knew, He knew that. He knew that was just words. You know, from time to time, I'm contacted by Honduras or Brazil or whatever, and they'll say it's going to be, you know, Apostle Nelson's birthday, or it was Apostle Carlos in Brazil, and they'll say, could you record a video of a birthday or you know, something? And I'm like, happy birthday, God bless you, bye. I can't flow like that. And then I'll look at the other ones, and they'll be like, thus saith the Lord that I'm like, wow, how did they do that? See, I can't do that. I cannot just rattle things because people have asked me to say something. They asked me to wish them a happy birthday. I wish them a happy birthday. Because sometimes we'll begin to say things God hasn't said. And we have a tendency to want to hear good things. We have a tendency to want God to come when we're in trouble. But when God asks us to do something, we don't do it. This is good word. Because what He's telling them is, I have you here. I have you here. I remember that one time, man, I had been praying, and I needed God. I was just like, man, I needed you months ago. God, I need you to speak. I don't know if you've ever just wanted to hear something from God. We'll say just a sign. And then a limb breaks. We're like, oh my God, everything's going to fall apart. We want signs. We want confirmation. We want something. And I remember, man, it was forever before He even answered me. And He said, I am the Lord your God who knows what is best for you. And if you would have listened to me, your peace would be that of like a river. And I thought I listened. What? I didn't listen? What happened was I didn't even ask Him if it was His will. Because sometimes we have great ideas and we just want to go do it, and then God can come along. Come on, God, time to go. I'm going to go do this. Come with me. And so what He's telling the people is, I exiled you. There have been times when, oh man, I got a lot of them. I've got them dated and marked in the time. I've been up to from 2 in the morning praying, crying out to him, and it was 5 when he finally answered. Then he said, it's not them, it's me, because I have to test your heart. And I thought, okay, can I go to bed now? Can you imagine that here comes Jeremiah, and he tells them, I did it. And 70 years have gone by, then I'm going to bring you out. So go ahead and get comfortable. But what he really wanted them to do is, if I keep you there and I don't come rescue you just now, will you worship me there? Will you build me an altar there? In your captivity, will you still worship me? If I say 70 years and not 2 years, will you still worship me? And if it's my timing, would it be okay that it's not when you want it? Because that's what he's telling them. He said, I know the plans I have for you. I know my thoughts towards you. I know, and they're good. They're for good. They're not for harm. In other words, I've allowed you to go into this. I've allowed you because, see, I got to get something out of you. I've got to allow you to be in Babylon for 70 years till you get to the place where you abhor it, where you hate it, where you detest it, and you want nothing to do with it anymore. My own son admits it. He's like, man, he had never served the prison term he's doing now. He said 1 year, 2 years, and it goes by fast. And now he's on 8.5. And he's like, man, he goes, some of the people, Mom, I know God doesn't want me to hate, but I can't stand. I said, it's not them, it's what's in them. Because see, you're about convinced you don't want that anymore. Because if God brings you out in 2 years, he's still going to have it in there. And it'll be a matter of time before it starts calling you back and getting your attention again. And so he told them, go ahead and get comfortable. I'm not bringing you out of this that easily, but I'm with you. And I have good plans for you. But while you're there, it says, listen to this. Verse 12 says, then you will call on me and come and pray to me, and I will listen. What he is saying is, when the spirit of prayer arises in you, there's a spirit that keeps us from praying. You know, though, there are times that you're like praying and you're just running out of things. It's not flowing. But when we're in trouble, we can come and we'll try to hit and get his attention and cry out. And so he says, and you will pray. He's saying, I want you in a place when you pray and you come to me that you really want to, that you're not doing it just because you're going to say, I pray every day. I prayed today. If I call him, I say, hey, sister, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. I was just going to tell, oh, sister, let me tell you what. I was like, well, I was just checking to see how you're doing. Got to go by. I cut her off because I don't really want to talk. I was just checking on her. And some we're just checking in. And sometimes we just want to check in with God. And he wants to tell us things. He wants to say, I've missed you. I saw what happened. I heard when you cried. See, he wants us to stay in. He says, I will cause you to remain. Because when you want to stay in, then he'll cause you to remain. Even though all hell breaks loose, something has to snap in you when you say, you know what, if you don't give me my miracle, if I don't get healed, if I don't get the miracle, if I don't get the finances, if I don't have my child, if I don't restore my marriage, if I don't this, I am still going to worship you. I am still going to praise you. If it takes you 70 years, God, I'm going to know that my children will see the blessings that you had. Because you don't get what you want. You get what you have faith for. But see, they didn't want to meditate on what Jeremiah was telling them. They wanted to meditate what the other prophets, the false prophets, were saying. But he told them, but you'll call on me. He says, and when you seek me with all your heart, I'm going to be found by you. Have you ever heard people say, I've been trying to go to church, and I really have been trying to do good. And can you imagine if you were in dire straits and you needed something so bad and you just don't have any more strength and you've cried every tear you could cry, and God say, well, I know I heard you crying, but I was busy. I'll check on you tomorrow again. That's not the God we serve. He says, when you call upon me, I will hear you and I will answer you. I'm going to bring you through it. I've never left you. I'm for you, not against you. He's a good God. He knows when it's time to get out of the furnace. He knows when it's time to bring us out of the wilderness. He knows when the time is right because it's his time. But we got to be all right if it's not our time. We got to know and say, you know what, God, I'm going to make myself comfortable. If I'm going to make myself comfortable, I'm going to build you an altar. I'm going to glorify your name. I'm going to begin to witness to people. I'm going to go ahead and start telling my children how awesome you are. And I'm going to tell them that it is just temporary, that it's going to seem like a long time, but that God has already promised us that after 70 years, he's going to come through for us. But can we learn to worship him when he leaves us there in the fire? Because sometimes we think, what kind of God leaves us in the fire? The kind of God that said, when you're in the fire, it will not burn you. Well, what kind of God has me to cross this river when he knows I can't swim? The one that says the waters will not overtake you. What kind of God allows people to die? The God that says, oh, death, where is your sting? Because he has defeated death, hell, and the grave. And so therefore he said, if you believe in me, even though you die, you shall live. And sometimes we're like, well, he didn't answer. He said, oh, I answered. I gave him eternal life. He's not dead, he's alive. We got to understand that. What kind of God we serve? We serve a mighty God, and we have to be able to worship him in the midst of the storm, in the midst of the desert, in the midst of the fire, in the midst of the captivity. Said, okay, God, I got myself here. You tried making my crooked way straight, but I did not listen, and so therefore I'm going to praise you here in the now. Oh, come on. In the now. Because the devil wants you to get bitter. He wants you to murmur and complain. He wants you to go ahead and say, you know what, God, I'm not going to do no more. I'm not going to preach about you. I'm not going to teach about you. I'm not going to sing no more because you don't get me out of the fire. See, that's what the devil wants to hear. But that's not what we do. To worship you, I live. Because that's what, our worship is a weapon. Our worship is a weapon. I learned it right after we moved to San Antonio. We had just bought the new house. 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a swimming pool outside. It was big. But my son was in prison as a teenager. And I remember Christmas was coming around and I had decorated the house. And I was mopping the kitchen and I said, what good is all of this? I want to go see my son. God, I want to see my son. And I said, but I'll only go if you give me permission. And I remember a song came on. And by the end of that song, I was worshiping him. And that feeling of heaviness, that depression people get because they're not going to see loved ones and during the holidays and all that stuff. I was right there, just right there. It was getting ready to pull me in. And I couldn't see beyond that. And by the end of that song, I was worshiping him. And when he said, no, I don't want you to go. I was like, I'm going to praise you anyway. Because your worship is a weapon. When you say, okay, God, you haven't answered, so this has to be a process. That something's going on that's greater than what I can see. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and build you an altar. I'm going to go ahead and glorify you. I'm going to go ahead and praise you. And I'm going to go ahead and tell people you're still good. I remember my brother Joe, before they took him, and he didn't come back. He passed away. And he came to the church one last time and he said, God is still healer. He isn't a healer because he will heal me. He's a healer because his word says he's a healer. Because his word says he's a healer. And we get what we have faith for. And maybe sometimes all you have is that mustard seed faith. All you have is a little bit of faith. That's all you got left. But it's better than dead faith. And if you begin to worship him, right there, wherever you are, whatever you're going through, because he said, I exalt you. I had to find a way to get your attention. I exalt you. But my plans for you are good plans. My thoughts for you are good thoughts. Because I search out all things. And I know I'm the Alpha and Omega. I know the beginning from the end. But will you praise me, he says, and you will pray to me and I will hear you. Because he knew there was if they could just find a reason to settle in and say, I believe you. Not what they're saying that this is going to go. I didn't get here overnight. And so therefore, Lord, you're working something out of me and in me. And I have to trust you. And I have to believe you. And I have to have faith. And in the waiting, I will worship you. I will praise you. Let's stand.